What's going on, everybody? We are conveniently late. This is what I like to call cash time because we're 5 minutes late, and cash is, well, always 10 minutes late. This is Truth Will Set You Free, episode 120. It is Truth Tuesday. Join us, ladies and gents. Hit the share button. We're going to go ahead and chat for a minute or two while everybody jumps on the live stream. Please share this out. If you're wondering what you're watching right now, the episode that we're going to talk about Damar Hamlin on a lot of different angles, not just obviously the fact that he is now been transferred back to Buffalo. He's doing pretty good, but there's all these rumors. The whole purpose of Truth Will Set You Free, which was Barb's idea to kind of rebrand it, which is great. Unfortunately, Menstrual Meat is not with us. I don't know why. It was her idea to do this kind of stuff, but I like it because it's something different. So we're going to talk about the Freemasonry, talk of the 33, the threes, and all the things, and then the fact that he's getting paid through the rest of the season. Some micro influencers are talking about it being hush money, and I'm going to respectfully, we'll get into it. We're talking about Brazil. We're going to talk about the response to what their quote unquote insurrection is from Obama and Biden, which has been exactly what you would expect from a speaking point. We might get into Ray Epps if I can pull that video up from actually Kaecey's Facebook. If we talk about Ray Epps, it's interesting how he's gotten off for all the things that he did, and somehow even got questioned by the January 6th Commission. Classified documents from Biden is obviously a big topic, so we're going to dissect that a little bit, and we'll tell you the latest update on Loy Brunson. With that said, we're going to go ahead and get the show started. We'll do some intros when we come back. Let's get the party going here at Truth Will Set You Free, episode 120. Share the video. Just happened. I don't know. We'll just start it there. Anyways, guys, this is Truth Will Set You Free, episode 120. Got a lot going on. Let's do some intros. Mr. Kaecey, 33. Sweet Jesus. Is that Celsius? Kaecey, give us a little intro. What's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? 33 degrees. That's just keeping my stove in my house so I can get it above 33 degrees. But who knows? I only have 3 burners, so we're going to add more 3s to that.
Well, if it's a gas oven, president in charge of whatever country is saying get rid of gas ovens, because apparently that's a thing. Okay, Dave Brown, what do you got going on, brother?
What's happening, guys? How you doing tonight?
Doing good. I mean, the light off your head, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little bit blinding. I can't.
Yeah. I'll see if I can fix that. But
no, I'm kidding. You look good. You look really good. You sound good. What's going on, Dave?
Not much. Just busy working on our event coming up in June 2nd and 3rd, the Great American Summit, and tightening up things with our syndicate. As you guys know, we officially launched our lifetime membership to the Great American Syndicate, and so with that comes a VIP ticket for life to the Great American Summit. Plus, it all comes together in I wish I had a box right here, a cool little box with all kinds of cool gear. Apparel, a hat, pocket constitution, tickets to the event, and you become a lifetime member of the Great American Syndicate. So anyone who's watching, if you want more details about our community, if you're watching this, you're people like us, so you definitely belong inside. All you have to do is go to greatamericansyndicate.com to learn more, learn about what the Great American Syndicate is all about, the kind of people, the kind of networking that you can get inside. We're all patriotic allies looking to improve ourselves, our families, our communities, and our country. And our Great American Summit is basically just an extension of that. We had our first event last year, January 2022. This year's event is June 2nd and 3rd in Dallas, Texas at Gillies. It's going to be off the hook, and you're not going to want to miss it. So everything is over at greatamericansyndicate.com.
It's on the bottom right now. Dave, I think we need to do some viral content, and we do a little, it's my Constitution in a box. Step 1, open the box. Step 2, put that Constitution in that box. Anyways, it's a,
that might work.
get clever.
We have to do it. Well, forget it.
Yeah. Well, for mine, it would be like a little X-Acto knife. I don't know about you guys. Shout out, as always, Stevie. Thank you very much. Lenny, see, you go through so many different names. Thank you for helping support the show, and also to all the Patreons that do that, and especially the Great American Syndicate people, because I want to give a shout to that. So again, Stevie, thank you. I don't know what name you ever want me to call you, international man of mystery. So thank you again. For the Syndicate, it's pretty cool. We're actually having a long meeting tomorrow talking about all the benefits of it, which will all be released, but we only have 100 boxes, which I believe we are 100 lifetime membership boxes that are essentially a huge discount, and you get those tickets, the VIP tickets to the event, but it's also a community. So there's a lot more to it. And we're going to be sharing that with a lot of people coming up soon, in the next couple of weeks, most likely. But getting in now is a big deal. So out of that, there's 92 left or 93 left. Is that about right?
Yep.
92 or 93. So yes, and hopefully we'll see you again. I know you've been saving up to go, and there is discounted tickets right now if you want to get tickets to greatamericansummit.com. So it's going to be that's really going to be the platform we work on to not just build to that event, but something a little bit more than that. That is a great way to support. Also extra information and also actual content, or I should say connection with us as a group. I haven't even looked at comments yet. So
to your point, Anthony, like there's only 100 lifetime membership boxes left, right? So that's all we're selling. We're never going to offer this ever again. So first come, first serve. Jump in if you want to be a lifetime member and you want to get around folks like Anthony and Kaecey and myself and elite speakers and trainers. We have all kinds of people from all walks of life, all ages inside the community, and it's growing, and we would love to have you as well. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Chicago traffic does suck. I've been there on the way to the airport before. Yep. And Nikki, always on the button, awakenotwokestore.com. Casey's wearing the Big Government Sucks shirt. I'm actually wearing a Great American Syndicate shirt. But yeah, whole bunch of stuff working as a team here listening. We'll get through these in a second. Tell us what's happening. FN. YouTube, you get booted. Last year was amazing. Thank you. And Audrey here listening till my eyelids win. It's not that late. You're in Florida, I think. All right. Cookville. All right, let's get started. Okay. Let's start with Damar Hamlin. I mean, it's a positive story, but then you've got the conspiracy theorist. And I know I was shamed a little bit for just bringing up the whole jibbity jab situation right away. But I have to be honest with you. Like I said, the Commotio Cordis came up. And Kaecey, have you heard anybody talking about Commotio Cordis in the last 2 or 3 days?
Honestly, I am toning out anybody that talks about Damar Hamlin.
Okay, well then you can stop listening.
Because I don't like what people are doing to his story.
Well, yeah, especially now. So I was trying to bring something to light, but the reason I'm going to tell you guys why you have not been hearing anything about Commotio Cordis in the last couple of days. The reason you're not hearing anything about Commotio Cordis is now they're talking about the fact that he had to be revived twice. Commotio Cordis does not work like that. Commotio Cordis is once your beat is out of rhythm when it happens at that one freak moment. If you get help and the beat gets put back, it usually stays. So the fact that he was revived twice actually dispels the the most likely myth that it was Commotio Cordis related. That's what I want to say about that. Now let's talk about don't roll your eyes, Kaecey. Let's talk about do you want to talk hush money or Freemasons first?
I don't care.
Hey, what do you want? Freemasons or hush money?
I have no idea what the Freemason thing's about, so let's go there.
Let's start with it. Okay, so if everybody knows, his number is 3. The Old Dominion guy that also had a chest pains or a cardiac event during the game, the basketball game, the college basketball player, his number was also 3. The guy standing during the team prayer, his number was 33. They said that this is the first time when there was a kick return for a touchdown. The whole thing, everybody felt great about it, was 3 years and 3 months from when the last time that had happened. Okay, let's just stop there. That is a lot of coincidences. I'll give the conspiracy theorists that, but that is to me, we live in a free country. You're allowed to think that, the definition of an actual coincidence. So the reason why people are bringing up Freemasons is Freemason is a number, and in Freemasonry, 33 is something that essentially mocks Christianity. It mocks Christ, who died at 33, all the different things. So there's a lot of conspiracy rooted in that. And people are literally saying this was gigantic setup. There's video, there's clips of them saying this is, you couldn't have scripted it better, which is a common phrase. It's not like this is like a massive conspiracy in my mind. So yeah, what do you think to people thinking that this is some gigantic conspiracy, which again, I don't even know what the conspiracy would be for, that it's completely scripted and it was faked? What do you think?
Ridiculous.
My big thing is everybody grasps at what they can to be able to either profit from it or believe in it. And that's what I see is happening. And that's fine. If this brings people together to finally celebrate life again, pray, get their connection back to God, then so be it. But when it comes to all of the threes, there's a lot of things with threes. You can go back into time and you can even go, what is the witching hour? It's 3. And so it goes all the way back forever. And so I would never look into this as a conspiracy, because all in all, it's about Damar Hamlin and what he has done and overcame. People said he wouldn't be walking again, and he has left the hospital on his own.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to take it for what it is, as in I'm praying for Damar Hamlin's continued recovery, and that's all I want out of it.
Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, people tend to, you're able to find what you can. If you search long enough, you'll find exactly what fits whatever you believe. And, Freemasons, there's a lot of, 3 is a powerful number, 33 is a powerful number. Like they have a lot of numbers in there and symbols in their, in their community that have meaning. So, to Kaecey's point, if you dig deep enough, you could find this, you could find that, you could tie it all together and be like, oh my goodness, everyone's a reptilian, blah, blah, blah. Like it's just a big nothing burger. It's ridiculous. And these people, they can have fun with their conspiracy theorists, but I don't buy into any of it. The bigger conspiracy is, what, is it possible that what happened to him was due to, the juice? I had this conversation with my mom the other day, and if you think about it, if you really dissect it, we already know, right, that the juice can possibly give you, what's the word, how do you pronounce it? What's that? Myocarditis, right? That's proven. It's a fact. But it doesn't happen to everyone, right? I believe most people are unaffected by, say, the juice, but you can develop that. So would it make sense that if you have an underlying heart condition already that maybe hasn't been seen by a doctor, say a football player, and so you already have that, and then you get the juice, could it increase your heart problems, right? Exasperate it, compound it. And then when you get hit in a certain way, like on your chest, could it be a dual situation where it's partly the hit, partly your heart because of it's weaker because of the vax? Like he could be that one freak person that, that happened to. So I think it's a worthwhile conversation to have. And these questions, are not conspiracy theorists. They're valid questions that we should all be discussing and talking about. And I think more and more is going to come out about this. Do I think the vaccine altogether is a total joke? No. Do I believe they hid information about side effects and things like that so more people would get it? Yes. Do I believe people are getting sick and passing out and falling over, and athletes and all this stuff? Do I believe that's actually happening because of the vax? Yes. Is it a small segment of everyone that's taken it? Yes. But we need to know the truth. Like nothing should be hidden. None of the side effects should be hidden. Everything should be out there for all of us to see. Full transparency.
So 1 out of 800 is the number that McCullough latest. I love that people slam like McCullough is a quack. McCullough was one of the most published cardiovascular doctors in the world. And then just because he was against this vaccine and the media painted him one way. But anyways, his latest numbers are not deaths, but adverse reactions. 1 out of severe adverse reactions, about 1 out of 800. So that's why when you have people that are against against us, saying like, I've had 20 family members get it and nobody got sick. Well, the math is in your favor. The math is technically, if somebody has a adverse situation, the math is not in your favor. It means 1 out of 800. It's dumb bad luck. So while we're on,
look, you could have 20 family members that take a blue pill. Doesn't mean they're going to all have erections that last more than 4 hours.
Facts. And that's just the way that it works. So Kaecey, I looked up this story. That is accurate. A 17-year-old boy died of cardiac arrest yesterday. I just looked up that on MSN. Of course, that's not going to make national news. Again, and has this happened in the past? Absolutely, 100%. But while we're on this call, I want you guys to see this. Is it going to blur? Yeah, it's blurred. Air Force football player. I just got an alert. Air Force football player Hunter Brown dead at 21. He was an offensive lineman, bigger guy. Used to play baseball and suffered a medical emergency on his way to class on Monday and passed away. The academy announced on Tuesday. He was 21 years old. Emergency personnel attempted life-saving measures unsuccessful. Again, we had never. This is the question becomes, why are we hearing about so much more of this now? And do I think that they're like, and I want to give my respect to Diamond. I know a lot of people were huge fans of Diamond and Silk. I would believe that she was unvaccinated, and she had a sudden death. Does it happen? Yes. So that is probably trying to prove their side. And the sick people that are saying, "Oh, unvaccinated person died, you're sick." Nothing about us three having the conversation about people that have had the juice and dying is celebrating their death. We are actually angry about their death because we want more truth of what these shots can possibly do. And it makes us, we're deemed a conspiracy theorist for it. So to wrap that up, I think what is going on with the Bills, I'm coining the phrase, you can call it cheesy, but I'm a Bill-liever. Bill-liever. I'm not a Bills fan. And this year I want to be a Bills fan because I think it's a great story. I think the fact that his charity that was meant for this much has grown to $7 million. I think that it's inspirational that a guy that was pretty much dead on the field for 9 minutes is functioning. And people think that it's all fake and a lie. You can think that, but for God's sakes, like Dave has talked about this, Barb has talked about this, Kaecey and I have talked about this. Sometimes we need something good in this world. And there is a lot of good, and we got to stop seeing all the possible negatives and the bad behind it. Because if this is a setup, all it's doing is opening some people to this idea that, wow, this really doesn't happen very often. So what's the positive in the setup? People are praying again. You got an ESPN, an anchor praying on national TV, and you're going to find a negative in it. I'm going to respectfully disagree.
But what's the setup? Like, why?
Exactly.
Like, why would it be like that? You can't fake a hit like that. Like, we all watched, like we all saw it. Like, come on. Like, you can
fake a feint is what they're saying. But
what happened to the basketball kid from a couple days ago?
He just, all middle of the court, he just kind of fell backwards, grabbed his chest, and then sat out the rest of the game on the sidelines. But he was in bad shape for a minute or two, and he didn't have to get revived or anything, but it was a cardiac event. He had chest pains and had to come off the court.
Right.
For anybody to say that was fake, and you see how many people were moved by that one situation, even people that were actively on the field watching everything go down, and you say that entire thing was faked, and you see the raw emotions out of them. No, there's no way that's possible. You can't, even if it was scripted, you can't play that well in front of everybody and on that stage. It makes no sense.
And they said too, like, the speed of which they were able to start to resuscitate him was critical in this. And don't forget, like, this is an elite athlete who is in incredible shape. And I guarantee you that had something to do with his recovery.
Yeah. I mean, and I think God did. I mean, honestly, this is a great, and I'm going to bring up, we'll hit this point a little bit, then we'll get to the other topics. But like, he did when the Bills got the opening touchdown, he did OMFG on his Twitter, and the ultra Bible thumpers freaked out because he just talked about he's going to give more of his life to God, and he wrote it out or something like that. He's going to devote more, and he thanks God for being there. And the ultra Christians shamed him for saying OMFG, which if he would have said, if he would have said it out, I would have been like, but I wouldn't have called it out on Twitter, for goodness sakes. I would have just been like, maybe that was in poor taste, but literally it's an acronym and people jumped on him. It's like, this is why, and we're getting into a religious conversation now. This is why people have so much trouble looking at Christians as open, welcoming people. Like, chill out.
Yeah, right.
It's an acronym, Before we get off the Damar Hamlin topic, let's talk about the fact that they're paying him the rest of the season, which some people and I'll admit, like, we are so just we're linked into everything being conspiracy. Like, something's got to be conspiracy. And now if they decide to pay his salary for the next 5 years, if he can't play ever again, we can have a conversation about hush money. But Kaecey did some digging into this. Have you confirmed anything? So they're paying the rest of his season's salary, is what it sounds like, which they don't have to do based on contract rules in the NFL. So Kaecey, explain this.
Yeah, so he's in essence supposed to receive pay of $825,000 for the season, if he finishes the season healthy and meeting. I'm sure there's some performance requirements potentially in there, but if he goes on IR, he would end up getting $455,000 for the season. But they agreed for this one game, the ending of the season, week 18, they would still pay him for the full game as if he played and was healthy, which meant once you break it all down and do the math, it's $20,000. Right, that's nothing. Even to him, his entire contract is worth like just shy of $4 million. But if they were trying to shut him up because of some other thing, $20,000 isn't going to do it. No way. No way.
Yeah, I agree. Now, if we were to, let's say that it is beginning of next season and he shows no signs of ever playing again, and they decide to, out of their kindness in their heart, decide to pay him $4 million for the next 5 years as a honorary captain contract, then we could start talking about hush money. Would you agree?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's also just to tell I wouldn't say hush money, but it would be to keep him from suing the organization. I bet you there would be something like that to be like, hey, don't sue us for that, anything that happened. But no, for 20 grand, I don't think so. What do you think, Dave?
I mean, I don't know what his contract's like, but these people signed long-term contracts, so I feel like he should be paid. I don't know what the terms of the agreement are in terms of whether he, if he gets sick like this, collapses. Like, usually these contracts are pretty valid regardless of injury. You still get paid for the season. So, and I don't think under the circumstances and the outpouring of support, I think they're going to probably go above and beyond to make sure that he's taken care of, regardless of the outcome.
Yeah, no, and I agree. I do. I just, if it's extended past the contract and it makes no sense, we can start having a chit chat. That's just all I can say on that one. And for now, it's a great story. Can we just take the W one time? Can we take?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. God is back. God is back, and
look, what happened to him is horrible, but this guy is already rich and wealthy beyond anyone's wildest imagination. So if they cut him off, whatever. I mean, he's fine. Like,
okay.
It'd be nice to see him actually be able to, lace up again and play. I doubt that's probably going to happen. But we'll see. I think it's still early. I think maybe we'll hear some more stuff about it.
Yeah.
I think if you were to say, for him to be able to be out of the hospital within 7 days, it gives a lot of hope that he could come back and play the game.
Yeah, true.
Can you imagine that first game back? Holy nuggets.
Oh, it's going to be nuts.
If he came back.
There's so many players that come back from injury and they have a crazy ovation, but for him, and it's well-deserved, and it should be done. And I think it would be a fantastic thing. And if he ever was to come back, I would want to be in that stadium, no matter what stadium it is. I think it'd be awesome.
The way I'll be watching.
And
do me a favor, Russo.
Going to win the Super Bowl, so
please do not root for the Bills. You rooted for TCU, and look what you did.
Valid. That was ugly. is all. I didn't even have time before they started the onslaught to put my purple on. Like I was leaving the gym and I'm like, it's not even worth me putting any purple on. This is pointless. Anyways, all right, let's go to classified documents. That's big news. Obviously, then we'll get into Brazil after that. Actually, let's do a quick update. Everybody out there, if you guys want, do you want to talk about, put it in the comment box. Do you want to talk about Biden's classified documents or Brazil's, whatever you want to call it next? While we're looking for that, Kaecey, give the update on Loy Brunson's case from the Supreme Court docket.
Yeah, so they denied it. The Supreme Court did, which was kind of expected. You even heard Loy say it's very possible that it could happen, but we're going to go into it with a positive outlook. His brother posted an update that they are going to do. I think it's called an appeal. I don't know if it has a different name, but they're going to appeal it to try to get it to move again, to move up the chain. They're going to keep pursuing it. And so they're getting that paperwork together so they can submit for that process. I can't remember what it was called. I don't think it was called an appeal, but it's that type of process. And so that's where it's at right now. So unfortunately, it didn't get to where we could actually have a hearing with the Supreme Court. But the good thing is to look at it is this is a huge win. I know a lot of you have heard me bash Mike Lindell and all of these court cases that are supposedly shut down. This is the first time you're actually seeing someone reach the Supreme Court, provide you the docket number and the documents that they're supplying and their motivation behind this case. So it is a great achievement to reach this far in what has been done. Not that it's done, but I think this is going to open the doors to where we can pursue more things on this, down this avenue for straightening out our election system, trying to use words that won't get us in trouble.
We'll go into Brazil next just because it fits the election issue. The question out of Loy Brunson, though, and we had him on our show, super interesting. Do you think they overshot the runway? That was asking for something major to be reviewed. Was that one of the flaws we think? That essentially was asking for 300 acting members in government to essentially be yanked out of their position.
I think it makes it harder. Absolutely. A long shot? No, I think their basis was very solid of saying, hey, they didn't uphold their oath.
No.
They didn't follow their process. The process was, hey, if someone was saying there is a problem with this election that went on, there was a problem and it needed to be looked at. And all of these guys, all of the people in Congress all voted and went against it, even though there were some objections. The process says, and the law says, if anybody objects, it can constitute a 10-day delay or a 2-week delay to be able to review it and give it a chance. That is where they did not do that. And so that is where there is a process for that is outlined that they overrode. And so, yes, I do not think it's a stretch. Would we repeal everybody from office and remove them and we'd have to go through some special election? Absolutely not. But it would potentially lead us up to where there is going to be more checks and balances.
All right. It's fair. I guess we'll see where the reapplication appeal or whatever it might is. And if they're able to refile and get back on the docket, we'll of course try to bring him on the show. Bring him back, bring Loy back. Loy boy. All right. So speaking of elections, we'll talk Brazil now. So the guy's name that is the person that won the presidency is Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva. So, and he beat Bolsonaro, which the people were very upset about, especially since if you look at what happened in Brazil, they were using similar machines, aka the same company that some of the people in this country have issues with. One, two, the basketball player played at Old Dominion. That is correct, Dave. So the number two, there was a 2 million vote difference between the two, and 5.5 million votes just so happened to have been deemed that they didn't count, which is a little bit fishy. So that was another big one. And Bolsonaro had a big following, much like the way he had a similar Trump-like following. Now, the interesting thing about De La Lula, Snoop Dogg, Inácio is he is a known criminal, but he spent time as a con artist, as somebody that was cheating the system. And this is the guy that is now being celebrated as their president. And the interesting thing is, you might have seen footage. I think it's important to see that footage, which we'll talk about, of them storming their capital, breaking in. I don't know the current status. I just know that it's a absolute shit show right now in Brazil. It's been that way for weeks. They've already been protesting this. And now when the peaceful transfer of power was supposed to happen, the people have now spoken up to a point where they have done something that, fortunately, to this point, we did not do at the Capitol on the worst day in history of the insurrection. But they definitely have stood their ground to a point that we have not seen before. Anybody who's been following this quite a bit?
I mean, I haven't been following it a lot, but I find it really interesting that the majority of people don't believe it's possible for these things to happen, when throughout human history, it has happened over and over and over again. Like, where there's smoke, there's fire. Like, this isn't just, some random thing that people decided, like, they feel for whatever reason that the election was stolen from them. And I think if they feel that way, and there's that many of them, there has to be some validity behind that, enough validity that it should be actually looked at. I remember when it first happened, that there was talks of how Brazilian police were setting up roadblocks and doing stops on election day as people were traveling to the polls. So, stuff like that, you just have to scratch your head. I mean, 5 million votes being thrown out. Like, what was that about? Like, so it's interesting. And authoritative dictatorships control the vote. Like, that's what happens. So the fact that it could happen here or could happen in Brazil, is it possible? Of course it is. Like, if you don't think it's possible or that it could happen, you're not living in reality. Like, absolute power, power corrupts. And I think that's what we're seeing. And so it's okay to question. It's okay for people to be upset. Most of these people, just like on January 6th, were peacefully protesting, that they disagreed. Like, that's okay. Now I think there's a couple thousand who are living in horrific conditions because they've been arrested and thrown in these basically camps. It's just wrong. I mean, the people that broke through, their house, just like on January 6th, they should be held accountable to the highest standards of the law, because there's a threshold in the line that I believe that you do not cross out of respect for your nation, out of respect for the history of that nation. So, that's my 2 cents on it.
What do you think about? I think so. What happens if they get what they want? That is what happens if they get their government to not have a peaceful transfer of power? What if there is no transfer and they actually, this works and gets a revote in Brazil? I don't think it'll happen, but what if that happens? What would that entail for the United States?
I don't know. Like, what do you mean? Like,
what if they set an example that you can do something to question your government? If to the point of, so this is why I have to be careful when I say it, because if I'm even questioning, like, oh my goodness, is Anthony talking about overthrowing the presidency? No, because I know this can be used for, and I don't want that to happen. I think America is different than Brazil, but I think there's a blueprint in many ways that we see from other countries, just the same as the trucker convoy. Our convoy didn't get as much traction because we weren't first. We didn't necessarily need to be, because we weren't. Our rules and restrictions were not as bad as Canada. Our country is a little bit more peaceful than the issue of Brazil. Biden didn't come out of prison to try to become president. So I think there's a lot that's different. But at the same time, if somebody finally stands up to their government, and why the media is probably not covering a lot of these revolutions, is that because it would put the idea in the head of Americans that, oh, we have more power in numbers. Could we do something like this?
Yeah, well, I'll let Kaecey go out, but I'll just make the one point. Like, look, governments around the world are increasingly encroaching on being authoritative, right? They're getting more. You look at things like the World Economic Forum, like, the people are having less and less control, say, and power. And so that's why we're doing what we're doing, right? To shed light upon that. So I believe like something like that, if it actually did happen, where the transfer didn't happen, there was a revote, it actually shows that, look, the people can rise up and have a say against what they deem as an authoritative, freedom-taking, power-hungry, corrupt, government organization that's gotten too big and needs to be cut down to size. Like, I think you're seeing that across, the world. And so, yeah, I think it would be a good thing, I guess, if there was enough proof to kind of back it up. I haven't seen proof. I've seen, stories about the 5 million votes or the police officers. Like, I don't know, but these people are upset for a reason.
Right.
Just like we were upset for a reason, right? And it turns out that we were all right. I don't know whether there was actually a lot of fraud in terms of votes and ballots, but there definitely was a lot of ballot harvesting. We know that the FBI interfered and censored things. We know Twitter and big social media and stories were suppressed. Hunter Biden. I mean, we can go. We've gone through this before, but if there's a lawsuit like what's going on and that we were talking about before, like I think all that should be brought up now in a new lawsuit, because there was election interference, there was manipulation. Was it enough to sway the vote? I mean, there's polls out there that say it was. So I think that's something that we should look into. Absolutely.
Kaecey.
Yeah, and Dave, you're alluding to it, and I'm going to take it down a little bit further. So if we were to look at these scenarios, there is reason for concern. There is reason why everybody is getting upset with their governments. This is not just America and Brazil. You see it in many other countries. And right now, you're starting to see a lot of pushback because people are fed up with these leaders that are, there's a higher power somewhere, however you want to look at it, whatever it is, Illuminati, whatever, all of that stuff. There seems to be some rank and power that these decisions are being made in these bigger countries. We have never seen China fight back against the CCP until this year. Like, we're seeing it really bad. And then you had America do it on January 6th, which again, like Dave, you said, you do risk some things, and there is some accountability that needs to be put in place for people that destroyed things and caused damage. Yes. But to be able to be there and use your voice and fight against, will come together in a united fashion, not fight against, is important. And what Brazil is doing, the part that I look at and I hate is, why in the hell is former President Barack Obama and President wannabe Hillary Clinton, why are they saying fair and free election?
Speaking points.
Why are they saying that? What in the hell? They are not in those countries. How can they even say it? But they're using the same terms we have been told for the last 2 elections.
Because they're afraid of what the American people will be inspired to do. So Barack Obama, to your point, Barack Obama's comment was, the entire world has a stake in the success of Brazil's democracy. Together, we must reject any effort to overturn or disrupt the will of the Brazilian people. Well, the Brazilian people, it seems like a lot of them have a different will and affirm, sorry, I ad-libbed that. People and affirm the peaceful transfer of power as a cornerstone of democracy. Does he know? I mean, does he know for a fact that everything, does he all of a sudden just think that Brazil is free and clear and there's no corruption there whatsoever? It seems a little haughty.
Yeah. Well, to read off exactly what Hillary said, she said, the people of Brazil voted in a free and fair election. Their choices must be respected.
It's just,
and then there's more
over and over.
Yeah, that is fishy to me. And when you start looking at what the World Health Organization did during COVID, what World Economic Forum is doing now, trying to push on all of these rules. By the way, if you have a gas stove, go and turn it on just for fun and be safe, just to piss off the government. But all of these people, there is someone pushing these people to make to move towards a certain agenda, and we have to start pushing back even harder. And that's where I still support what Brazil did. I still do. I don't know a whole lot about it, other than I know there is a lot of people upset, and I don't care. I back those people.
Look, yeah, you have to think, like, I mean, Bolsonaro's, right? He was against China, and China has their tentacles all over Brazil, which is absolutely rich in natural resources. And this guy, Lulu, has a record of cooperating with China. And there's stories now about how they're going to be even closer ties now that he's he's won.
Yeah.
So, could that be the big thing that's driving all of this here, that China actually influenced in this election, because they're setting themselves up like everything's made in China, right? Brazil wants to go in. China's the biggest threat to the world right now, in my opinion, and I think this could very well be a part of that.
Yeah. And to your talk about Brazil and all of their minerals and what they are capable of doing, Venezuela was in that exact same state 15 years ago. They were very, very profitable, and they were a very big powerhouse in this country, in the world. And now look at them. People make jokes about them because they're such a disaster, because they put a horrible leader in place. Not they. I believe that person was put in place by a system.
Right. And a lot of us believe that here too, right? That's why, Beijing Joe, right? The Hunter Biden laptop. All the stuff, all the connections and ties to China. It's interesting. It's really interesting. It's a global economy, and China has risen up since, the Obama administration, and they're at the forefront of it, and they're not going to relinquish it. They have a basically a manifesto, a doctrine to basically be the number one economy in the world by, I think, like 2035. This is all part of the plan. And if they can manipulate and take over certain countries by rigging elections so they have governments that are advantageous and supportive of their policies and their economy and what they want to do, win-win for them.
I think this is incredibly important to look at, and I'm going to show you something. And it's not about Biden's comment that mirrors Obama. Or Biden. Canada, Mexico, and the United States condemn the January 8th attacks on Brazil's democracy on the peaceful transfer of power. We stand with Brazil. So again, it's that whole thing. You're hearing the repetitive words that mainstream media was said during our election, and about COVID, about the V, and all these things. We stand with Brazil as it safeguards its democratic institutions. Our government support the free will of the people of Brazil. We look forward to working with President Lula. He's a criminal, of course you do, on delivering for our countries, the Western Hemisphere and beyond. This is not the important part. So this is where people like me, and I don't know if I would say us because I don't want to speak for everybody on the screen, why we're so concerned with our previous elections and then what social media does. So I want to just show the positive comments on here. Michael Zion is from another country or a bot.
That's a bot. It's
a bot. And then, so good. I say good work. Then you've got this person, digital creator, Kadala, has nothing about, not a normal profile. Glenda is this team Kentucky. I'm with Andy, maybe a real person. Dunrex is Ghana National College. Oldman Chroma. This is fascinating. So the first 6 out of 7 are definitely either foreigners or bots. 100%. Here's another one, 7.
And this is what the administration is supposed to be fighting, right?
This to me is the most mind-boggling part. This is the social media. It's just social media. It's no big deal. These are fake people. These aren't from the United States of America. And this is what is force-feeding the algorithm. This to me, it's not him saying the programming. It's that right there. That is probably the most, I probably should make a quick video on that, share that. That is the most damning bit of the information you can see right there. That's insane to say that they have to use bots on social media to prop up the president of the United States, which to me is if you're going to lie there, if you're going to cheat there, if you're going to steal there, then why wouldn't you do something else in a much bigger play? That to me is scary.
Yeah.
Well, and you should have seen Twitter before Elon took over. It was nuts.
Way worse.
You can go look it up like 2 months ago and look up the POTUS posts and everything in there. It was nuts on the amount of bots and the other countries that were commenting on his posts. It was horrible.
Yeah.
I would love to see a leftist comment. I would just love to see their commentary on what I just showed. I
Yeah.
would love to.
I mean, I don't know why people don't think like these things are possible, like that they live in this bubble, like that none of this stuff has ever happened before, that it can't possibly happen, in Brazil or here now or in the future. Like it is totally possible. It is totally probable and plausible because of what you just showed. You have big tech, you have media, you have all the like companies like BlackRock that can manipulate, censor, and change people's opinions and minds by what they see on social media, what they watch on TV, the whole thing. It's totally, I mean, why did the American Revolution happen?
Because we finally stood up to rule,
To what?
rule, stood up against taxation without representation, stood up to
An over oppressive government.
an over oppressive government. That's the word.
Right. I mean, so like it's happened time and time again, and it's going to happen again in the future if governments get bloated like that and out of control and take away people's freedoms. Hopefully people like us, I mean, people need to be reminded of their history.
Bro, I'm looking through these comments right now. Not a single one is an American. This is absolutely insane now that I'm looking at it. That's crazy. That is, I mean, that was an accident. I didn't know until right when I looked at it how bad that was. All right, so that's our. Oh, and the last thing, and this is kind of what got me going on Brazil. I wasn't even sure if we were going to talk about it, but I saw some people talking about F Brazil. Why do we care? Americans need to stop worrying about other countries. Blah blah blah. I think we worry about other countries. It's not that we're worried like, oh, we have to do something. The 4-minute mile wasn't ran until somebody finally did it. So for us to be able to, and again, peacefully, but the fact that we can realize if it gets in Americans' heads that we, the people, technically run our government, we should run our government in our own way. And our voices can be heard in a very peaceful way. Granted, we're not seeing that necessarily in Brazil, but the idea that people are finally standing up, just like the Canadian truckers, which the same thing I was watching was talking about the fact that America got no respect. It's because other countries are doing it first. So that's why it's different, because that's where whoever is first to it gets the biggest following. I guarantee you if the American truckers would have been the first one to do it, I think that there would have been a whole different response. But at the end of the day, not F Brazil, not screw these other countries. And no, we're not sending money there, but for God's sakes, let's see what other countries are doing to stand up to their oppressive governments like Dave just talked about. Anything else on this topic, or can we move to classified documents?
I mean, just that there's so many people out there that really don't pay attention. And all we're doing, like, we're not condoning violence or anything like that, right? It's being awake and not woke. It's about spreading the message of like, hey, start paying attention, start getting involved locally, start going to your school boards, maybe start running for office. Like, all these things, like if you don't support a woke company, like you could not buy for them. Like you don't have to buy from China. Like it's these little things, and you might not think that it's going to make a difference, but on a compound level, and I think the proof is in the pudding. I think we've actually seen it work over the last 3 years. Like you see things changing, you feel the pendulum swinging, and that only happens because there's so many of us out there that are speaking up, that are questioning, and that needle slowly starts to move, and it's going to continue to move. But if people are asleep at the wheel and are not paying attention and are taking things for granted and just walking through life with blinders on, you're not going to see it when it hits you straight in the face.
Yeah. Agreed. All right, let's talk about classified documents. So, if anybody doesn't know what's going on, Biden has technically they're finding from his vice presidential term, they've found that he had classified documents in his possession that he took, and when he was on August 26th, and I'm going to play a clip in a second. Let me see if I can find it. I had it and then it skipped, but I'll find it in a second. He was asked, is it ever appropriate for a president to classify top secret documents? Or he said that, no, what am I saying? Sorry. Start over. I sound like I'm about to have a on-air stroke. A reporter asked him on August 26th, is it ever appropriate for a president to classify top secret documents? What he said, depending on the circumstance. For example, I have in my home a cordoned off space that is completely secure. I'm taking home with me today's presidential daily brief. I have a person with me, military with me. I read it, I lock it up, and I give it back to the military. That is what he said. Now, that's not necessarily what has happened. This was in a completely a random place, and he used to defend depending on the document, but when it came to President Trump, not okay. So I find that fascinating. So right now, who knows what the next steps will be? I was on Russian TV earlier talking about it like I knew, and honestly, I don't know what they're going to do with this. I have no idea. And honestly, I do think there's a little carte blanche. If it's a classified document that means nothing, who gives a shit? The same way I felt about Mar-a-Lago. But it's just fascinating to see the double standard. Dave, Kaecey, anything?
No, I agree. And the thing that's funny is how they're just trying to spin it, and the whole media is just like, oh, yeah, well, it's all right. It's no big deal. He's our president. They keep coming back. I keep seeing it. Well, he's our president. I'm like, but he wasn't at the time. Like that. And then there's also other speculation that people are saying he technically didn't have the classification to get to some of these documents. I don't know a whole lot of truth around that, but
no, he had the classification to get to the documents. He did not have the classification. He didn't have the level to declassify them.
To declassify them. And so my biggest thing is with it is hold him accountable. Like whatever the law states, throw the book at him. That's fine. That's what should be done, and it should have been done with Trump, which it turns out it was really nothing with Mar-a-Lago. So we'll see what happens. Are we going to launch a whole investigation and spend 3 weeks in the mainstream media talking about it like they did with Mar-a-Lago? No.
Yeah. I mean, 3 weeks, they're still talking. You still talk to somebody that's a MSNBC watcher, and they're going to completely still bring that up. What about Mar-a-Lago? I saw somebody like a post earlier that was a month old from somebody saying they're finally indicting President Trump. And it's like, well, that was December. And here we are. For 5 years, they've talked about indicting President Trump, and there has not been the case. Now, I would argue back, if I would play devil's advocate, we have been talking about indicting Hillary for 8 years, 7 years as well, and nothing has happened. So again, sometimes there is, and maybe Trump falls under this category, and Hillary definitely does. You know, if that's the argument you want to give, then both of them could be crooks. Absolutely.
I see a lot of stuff on Twitter from the left stating, well, Biden's cooperating. I'm like, well, Trump was cooperating too, from what I remember. And I believe Trump was actually president who has the power to declassify. A vice president does not have the power. And maybe he's cooperating now, like in the fall when they learned about this, but that means he had these documents for 5 years illegally without right. And the whole thing that's interesting, if you really go down the rabbit hole, which I posted last night on Instagram, a short little video, is that the Biden Center is in University of Pennsylvania, which gets donations and support from China that is 300% more than any other university in the country. So you have to ask your question. You have to say to yourself, well, isn't it interesting that the Biden Center, where these documents were found, is in a university that China is pushing a lot of money towards? So was it a pay for play scheme so they could get access to these classified I mean, the rabbit hole goes deep here, and I think we're only scratching the surface. And if you look at it and how it happened, like these documents were in a closet. Mar-a-Lago, they were in a closet, right? And so, I mean, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. And I think the attorney general here is his hands are tied, because right now Republicans are in control of the House, so they both have to be treated equally. And if they're not, the Republicans are going to be very loud about it,
as they should be.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, again, Biden's team has already talked about, well, these were secured documents.
Ronnie Dyer, Trump had Secret Services, Secret Service guarding those documents. Bingo.
Exactly. Oh, and let's also not forget that these were found 2 days before the midterms, and that was silenced.
Right. And after the midterms, we learned that the Mar-a-Lago thing and the documents that were there was not what they were saying 3 months before, nuclear codes, all this BS, that it was basically a lot of nothing. And now there's a special counsel. So I feel like we should have a special counsel now, to be fair, to look at this.
And again, I think it's also interesting that somehow this not only did it make it past knowing during their midterm election, it also made it past the runoff or whatever you want to call it, the between
Right.
yeah, they had to make it as far past it as possible to make sure that it did not get involved. And on top of it, the media is of course going to find a way to spin it. So real quick, MSNBC's article, because everybody's going, how is this different? So, of course, the people on the left are going, we're going to hear these speaking points by the people in comments getting upset with us because we're just Trumpies and all that stuff. So MSNBC's headline, Biden isn't on the same legal planet as Trump when it comes to classified docs. Don't be fooled. I love that it's telling people how to think. Don't be fooled by GOP talking points that Biden is guilty of Trump-level deception. There's no case against Biden on what we know so far. Wow, the way that they completely present the information in a just viciously spun way. And then you've got Joy Behar even talked about it. She even said, well, Trump's been known to be a liar and a cheat, so that's why we treat him the way we do. Biden, we give a little carte blanche to because he's never been proven to be that way. Wow, you apparently don't know that he's lied about everything his whole entire life, which is why he was booted from the 88 presidential run. Let's not forget all this. He has been a liar and a cheat his whole life. And now you're saying she said we give him the benefit of the doubt.
So here's a little conspiracy. I'll just throw a little conspiracy nugget out there.
Sure.
What if the powers that be, right, are basically setting this up so both Biden and Trump are freaking removed from the playing board come 2024?
I don't think that'd be a bad thing for Republicans to be told.
Yeah, I still stand by the fact that I believe Biden's going to be impeached.
I mean, yeah, but then you've got Kamala. But but then we've only got a year. We'd only have like a year and a half with Kamala, I think. I mean, what worse can the leader be at this point?
True. Yeah, true.
The executive order is powerful.
But what it could do is sway public perception. I mean, Biden's already, like, he's 80 already, right? So now we have this, and then it's like, okay, well, Trump is doing this. He's saying stupid stuff. Like, maybe it's just time to move on from both these, narcissistic.
We need to move on from anybody that's 80 years old and running as president.
Yeah. No, anybody that's whatever. I won't get into the V stuff. We're going to have a real quick wrap up. We're not going to talk about Ray Epps. I'll do a quick video on it. Kaecey has a great video on his personal page just showing Ray Epps inciting a riot and telling people to storm the Capitol. Yet somehow, again, when he was questioned, it was like nothing happened. It's super weird on that one. And everybody was chanting Fed. Great video, great find. That's the one. People were like, what video are you talking about? Well, Kaecey's got it on his page. I'll share it later, possibly on Instagram. Make sure you're following the Instagram, which has gotten a lot of views lately. Truthful Say for USA. Before we do our final words, because I've got a funny story, please, guys, a lot of you guys purchase actually from Dr. Artist. So I'm going to show that up there, the Dr. Artist page. I was just talking to him actually about Diamond and Silk earlier today. We were texting because he had Diamond and Silk on his show quite a bit. But Dr. Artist is the guy that is he's done a lot of research. He's got great supplements. I've been taking his Docs Viral Defense. I take Prostate Pro. Use BFD at checkout for 10% off. You get a discount and it helps us out. And honestly, this has been our best affiliate. People, I know a lot of you guys have bought from this. Dr. Artist, thedrartistshow.com. I think everything is in stock right now. He's got a lot of good supplements, a lot of stuff to help flush the body if you did get the jibbity jab, and a lot of hey, fear is in. COVID is apparently in full force. The most contagious strain in history right now is out. But anyways, take the Docs Viral Defense, take some of the vitamin C that he's got, all the different stuff, selenium, etc. He's got a great skin stuff also for those with adult acne.
Seriously, I have no idea what you're talking about.
You didn't even know? Oh, you've been watching the right news programs, but apparently right now there is a perfect storm of flu mixed with, I'm going to say another story in a second. Flu mixed with what's the other thing? Flu mixed with COVID. It's creating this ridiculous storm going on. These nurses were in a place I might work at once in a while, and I was talking to them, and we brought up the whole. I said, out of curiosity, has there been an increase in cardiac events in the ER? Because they're ER nurses. And they were like, no, it's about the same. And I was like, oh, okay. And I was like, okay, it's anecdotal, but I'm just curious. And then they started thinking more and they're like, well, I will say the age is a little bit younger than we've seen in the past. Like we're seeing younger people with cardiac events. I'm like, okay, tell me more. And they're like, yes, but I know what you're getting at. There is no evidence. There's no proof that it's tied to that. So there's no obvious proof. So again, that's not they. I mean, and they probably could have been conservative. So I feel like the area that I was in could have been, but the fact is,
And there's no proof that it isn't tied to that.
I didn't want to say that because again, they were at my establishment, so I had to be nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, but they kept saying there's a little. First, it went from nothing to there is a younger, and that there is a little bit more than they've had in the past. Which really, even one more every week is could be 5% depending on the ER. That's a decent uptick. And the fact that it's younger, but they just said, I know, but there is no evidence there's no evidence because nobody is checking it.
But
the evidence is in the DOD, the numbers, the DOD, the age, because there is nobody doing the research.
I imagine it's possible. I really don't know the answer to this, but is it possible to have COVID and the flu at the same time?
Yes, I think so.
So is that probably what's going on, right? Is that the perfect storm they're talking about?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe. And they're also, and then, I've talked to some other doctors and they are seeing maybe, and again, this could be with Diamond as well. She had COVID in around Thanksgiving. I am open to the idea because I've said, why haven't they said that it's even a possibility? They're saying that long COVID is leading to heart complications similar to the jibbity jab, just like that one article that I read from LA Times talked about the fact that most likely it was commotio cordis with Hamlin. Commotio cordis could actually, the fact that he was a football player and it's very rare, could have been also tied to maybe myocarditis. It said it in the article, then talked about the fact that vaccine has been tied to myocarditis. And then to end the article, it says, but this is, doctors are all saying that this is tied to normal infection myocarditis, not vaccine induced. Okay, proof. Where?
Yeah, how do you tell the difference? Yeah.
Anyways, let's do some final words. I've got a funny anecdote joke at the end to some people that called the place, the establishment earlier today, which is pretty funny. Kaecey, wrap it up, buddy. What do you got?
Not much from me. Just keep praying for Damar's recovery. Don't believe all of the BS that everybody's trying to put out there just to get some clicks and some views. It's unnecessary and it's ridiculous in my opinion. But when it comes to our government, watch what they're doing. Right now, the House is in an interesting place because it's led by McCarthy, which is not really a Republican, but they could be doing some good things. So keep an eye on that. You're going to see some stuff from me coming up about Utah's bills. We have some crazy bills that are going on the table for our legislative session that starts in 2 weeks. We're talking about a 10-day delay in gun purchases like California has, which is absolutely asinine. But yeah, keep an eye out on your government. A lot of stuff is changing.
I think McCarthy is a Republican, by the way. It's just he's a Bush kind of Republican. He's old school Republican. He's establishment Republican. But anyways, it's just there's two different. He's a Republican. I mean, based on his voting record, he's just a conservative. He's an old school. He is the establishment Republican. That's what he is. He's establishment. Whatever. The new Republican Party's changing. Dave, what's going on?
So I saw this just a little while ago. I thought it was really interesting that House Republicans are going to vote on abolishing the IRS and replacing a national income tax with a consumption tax after voting to strip agency of Biden-backed $72 billion funds for those 87,000 new staff. This is something that I've been a big proponent of for the longest time. I believe taxation is theft. Our Constitution, our founders never intended for income tax to be a tax from labor, or labor should never be taxed. That's how it was supposed to be done. We're all overtaxed. And if Democrats and our government really wants a fair and equitable system, I believe a consumption tax is the only way to do it. If you're wealthy and rich and you're a billionaire, you're paying taxes for the $1 billion, the jets that you're flying, the mansions that you're buying, the multiple houses that you have. If you're someone who is not that well off, you're paying a consumption tax on, your clothing and everything else. So I like the idea. I'd be interested to hear if people who are watching in the comments if they would support abolishing the IRS and moving to a consumption tax.
I'm always down with a consumption tax personally. If there's no other tax. So I appreciate that. That's good. To this comment, I just did a quick look. So she didn't have COVID anymore, but she had it around Thanksgiving, I believe, is the thing. So it could have been long COVID. All right. I have a question. What does that say? All right. So here's the question. So I had this call today. I'm pretty much sure that she doesn't watch our show because she was big on the fact that the reason she didn't use her Groupon was because she was, afraid of COVID and didn't want to come into a place where, the people are touching you and all that stuff. So the Groupon was expired in June of 2021. She was saying that it was showing redeemed. This was when a previous owner was still managing the place. I'm curious, at what point do you, and she wrote kind of a nasty text message when I said, hey, we'll give you a good discount, like is cheaper than whatever, but it's a year and a half. I have no way of telling if you gave the Groupon to somebody, it's showing redeemed. I can't do anything. There's nothing I can do. And I'm not willing to give somebody that has a 19-month expired Groupon a free massage, essentially. So what do you think the statute of limitations should be on being a good business owner that allows people to come in after a Groupon has expired? Like, what's the amount of time you're okay with honoring something? People in the comments can do it too.
What do you think, Dave?
6 months to a year.
Oh, year's a long one.
Something like that. 6 months to a year is fine.
Your policy should definitely be shorter, but if it's one time, I don't care if it's 6 months to a year.
You know what I found interesting? She knew the old manager's name, but then said that she didn't even know where we were, which means she called to book. She knows the situation. She also said, she was talking about the whole COVID thing. And she's like, and COVID's even still a thing now. People are still dying. I'm like, I honestly don't know if I want you as a customer anyways, but I feel like there's a lot of bad.
Aren't those like those Visa gift cards that you can buy? Aren't they like good for up to a year?
I think so. But there's an actual expiration date on so she bought it in February of 2021. I was able to find the Groupon. I saw it. It was showing redeemed.
Yeah. Well, if there's an actual expiration date, then the end.
Yeah. And I'm fine. And if you call and you want it extended, we can find a way to do that. We can work with Groupon. But 19 months is a little bit egregious to me. And even if we had a way of like redeeming and checking in the system, whatever it is, that would be manual. And that's 19 months ago. We don't have any documents that are just like handwritten. If people are a little late, we write it up. But she never even asked to extend it. She just expected her original value to be there. I think that is hilarious. And then when I call to leave a voicemail, it's of course, have a blessed day. Okay. Yeah. You get right on that.
Bless her heart.
Bless her heart is right. That's all. I think people are.
You know what never expires, Anthony and Kaecey?
Love.
A lifetime membership to the Great American Syndicate.
Facts. And we'll honor that forever. And again, I can't wait for our call tomorrow, Dave, because I think we're having some really great ideas what we're going to be able to bring to the syndicate. So that's the last thing I'm going to end on. Make sure you go to greatamericansyndicate.com on the bottom. Even if you're just a $4.97 that option is up there right now, right? $4 or $5 a month person, that at least gets you in the door and learn a little bit more. But we're going to have some different offerings. And then if you want to be a lifetime member, about 92 or 93 of them left. It's a little under $800, $797. And that includes tickets. It's something that gets you in on kind of the beginning of this movement that Barb and Dave have been working on for years. So this is a very cool time.
Yeah. I mean, we like to talk politics. Obviously we wear, our beliefs on our sleeves. But it's more than that, right? It's about pursuing more out of life, being a better version of yourself. Again, we talk about self, family, community, and country. It's about pursuing the American dream. It's standing up for America's core values and basically just being a champion for freedom. And I believe that, together we can achieve more, we can support each other, and we can make a real difference in not only in our country, but, in ourselves and our families, and hopefully in the world. So, big part of what we do is also giving back and supporting our veterans and first responders and at-risk youth. So if these are beliefs and things that you champion in your own life, then we would love to see you to be a member with us and join the community.
Love it. Ladies and gents, have a fantastic evening, and remember, the truth will always set you free.
Peace.
Oh, so good. It just felt right in my underpants, that show.
Oh boy.
Oh, it's just so good. It was
Oh,
felt
boy.
fun.
A real gripper, huh? Little log jam.
No poopers. It was, warm on the front. It might have been like a wet dream. That's what it felt like.